Hello, my name is Margaret, and I am tired. I am doing this early the morning of the day this video is uploaded because I have no time in my life anymore. But this is a discussion that I've wanted to have for a while. And fortunately, I have recently realized that I am not the only person that thinks this. And so it is time for the video. Now, I've made no bones about the fact that I dislike the majority of mainstream werewolf media. I used to like it. It used to be a thing. And it's one of those things where I came back to reading regularly after a while spent away and discovered that a lot of my tastes have changed, and that includes a dislike for all general werewolf fiction. Now, when I say general werewolf fiction, I do not mean the classic kind of old school monster werewolf stories, i.e., dude gets bit, on the full moon dude turns, he's unable to control himself, and he might hurt someone, and it's a whole thing. That's the classic werewolf story, and as a whole, we've kind of moved away from that because the majority of most werewolf stories in this day and age are the werewolves as a separate species, and you can be born a werewolf and you don't have to wait till the full moon to turn, and you live in family groups and all of this kind of stuff. In fact, it's very rare to see a werewolf story that is the classic style, and if it is, it's usually more considered a horror, whereas regular werewolf stories are usually somewhere around a fantasy or an urban fantasy. But what bugs me about the more urban fantasy werewolves is the concept of the alpha male. And this is usually the guy in charge of the whole thing, and he's like the most buff, got the most muscle definition, and usually a young dude because for some reason young fiction just has to revolve around like 20-somethings, which is weird because wouldn't you think that like the older dude would be better to run the thing, but fine, whatever. And he is usually insanely possessive, jealous, and chauvinistic towards his mate. And I am boggled that I've seen so many werewolf romances written by women in which you slowly watch the female character who might be a werewolf or a human, but she is never a werewolf if the man is not. The man always has to be in the greater position of power in a romance, which is a discussion we can get into another day. But you can watch the woman slowly have her agency leached away because her mate, and I've learned that I hate that word, basically takes over her life. And she becomes submissive to him. He has power over her. In some werewolf stories, depending on the mythology, they actually have like the alpha voice, in which if they speak in this like voice, he can just kind of control actions of others, including his mate. And I seriously hate that word in reference to any humanoid person because it just feels dehumanizing 90% of the time, especially in a day and age when we are like literally like jokingly calling like our pets mates, like, oh, he's got a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Like, it's just bugging me. But that's neither here nor there. The alpha male has an excuse, a carte blanche, to be this sexist controlling asshole because, quote unquote, that's just what werewolves do. And no, it boggles my mind that we have this somewhat ubiquitous headcanon about these non-existent fictional creatures, that they are just allowed to be sexist assholes and control the women in their lives, carte blanche. And I think the idea is, most people think, that it is based off of wolf wolf like behaviors in the wild. And no. Most of what pop culture recognizes about wolves in this day and age is off of a study from decades ago that has since been disproven repeatedly because they weren't actually studying wolves in the wild. They studied wolves in captivity, a bunch of adult wolves together in captivity, and they were basically monitoring a bunch of animals that were freaked out and not in a natural setting. And so yes, they didn't act like wolves naturally would. When they finally went out to the wild to study wolves there, they found out that these packs aren't these like small militias with hierarchies based on alpha, beta, and all of that. They were just families. And what we consider the alpha pair, male and female, were just parents. And they were just parents of all of these other wolves. And sometimes there could be an extended family, and they would care for all of the elderly and old wolves in the pack. And it was not at all the militia style hierarchy you see in werewolf fiction. So this essentially defense of werewolves by, oh, well, that's just what wolves do, isn't true. And it's actually been years since we realized that it's not. But I don't see the actual truth of wolves making it into mainstream pop culture narrative anytime soon. I think we're going to continue with the alpha male for a while because it's just so ingrained. And for some reason, women in particular just love to write about that, which is insane. But that's in general. There tends to be so much gender roles and so much sexism in a genre written by women, and we're starting to see that change, and that's awesome. But a friend of mine on Twitter, Lene H, I actually reviewed one of her books on my channel, had a tweet go viral recently, a lot more viral than she wanted, I think. But it was all about how basically werewolves aren't in hierarchies, they're giant found families. And so essentially, if you look at wolf behavior in the wild, the werewolf equivalent would basically be polyamorous hippie communes. Because wolves don't actually mate for life. If necessary, they can move and switch as needed. So like, free love and giant families and found families and everyone working together for the greater good and polyamorous hippie werewolves. And that's what I want to see. And fortunately, as so often happens when a tweet goes viral with any kind of story idea, writers came out of the woodwork in response to that tweet. And they were like, well, my WIP, and they were like, all these people talking about, well, the story they were writing was going to be this or was going to be different than the standard alpha male werewolf trope. And so I actually went through and I started looking through and I found one that is soon to be published. It is not currently out as of uploading this, but I have an agreement with the co-authors of the book, and it is going to be polyamorous queer werewolves, and I am like so excited. So I have not given up on the entire genre of werewolf fiction, but for the love of God, we need to drop the stupid alpha male. We need to let the werewolves be the polyamorous hippies they were always meant to be, and also queer, and also maybe a situation where the woman is the werewolf and the man is not. Let's shake it up, people, because honestly, the majority of werewolf stories tend to be the same or have the exact same ideas in them, and the best way to shake up a dish is to shake up the ingredients within it. So, in conclusion, I'm tired, still, slightly coming down with the cold, but I am very passionate about this. So if you know of any other queer, polyamorous, found family werewolf stories, send them my way, and I mean legit polyamorous queer werewolf stories. I don't want to hear this, well, I have an alpha male werewolf, but it's not like other ones. No, I'm done. And this might be the early morning talking, but I, in general, just want found families and everything, and I've had enough of random militia-style hierarchies. And now I'm done. Thank you so much for watching this weird morning rant. I will probably avoid doing this in the future because I am so sure this video is just weird, but I wanted to get a video every Saturday, and I can barely talk right now. So with nothing else to say, I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.